Join Scotty G today from noon to 3. Tim Daly Nissan Southtown, 111 55 South Jordan Gateway in South Jordan. DJ PK, we're joined now by Bruce Pascoe, Arizona Wildcat basketball beat writer for the Arizona Daily Star. Bruce, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Bruce, you've been doing this for a while. You know how it works with injuries. The injuries to our guys are crippling, and nobody ever wants to acknowledge the other team has injuries. Well, it turns out we got two teams that got injuries coming into this game. Here, Richie Saunders' ACL has been discussed forever, but we haven't spent a lot of time, and Arizona's going to be shorthanded, down two guys tonight. What are they losing tonight?
Right. I mean, this is the first time really all year they've run into this, but they're going to be missing their starting power forward, Koa Pete. He's got like a lower leg strain that kind of has affected him for the last few games, can't shoot well. And they decided it sounded like just to shut him down for at least a week and then look at it again. And then Dwayne Aristote is sort of like their eighth man, 3-and-D guy off the bench. He's got an illness. They're not saying exactly, but it's not your garden variety flu or flu-like symptoms or whatever they call it, which usually you're back after a game. He's going to be out for a second game, and there's questions about whether he's going to go play at Houston even next week. So, this is unprecedented for them. I mean, like you said, BYU's obviously been they got six guys out. I think if you count guys that were out since the beginning of the year, and Arizona's got two key guys. They're going to have to really rely on their regular rotation guys and maybe stick in a couple of these. They've got like a 9th and a 10th guy that they hardly ever use, and that'll be really interesting to see what happens there if they do that or not.
It was a crazy game here in Provo a few weeks back when we saw the Cats take the big lead, and then the Cougars roar back and actually have the ball down by one, I think it was, and then the shot gets blocked and all that. And I thought that the U of A's size really impacted the game. Now, with Saunders out, my guess, I don't know this, but my guess is they start their two big men because Arizona's got some size. With Pete out, and grew up in the Phoenix area myself, so I've been following this kid. I know he's a player, and he had size. How do you think the loss of him will affect their ability to just clog up the lane defensively the way they've been able to do, particularly through most of that game against the Cougars?
Yeah, well, I think they'll be okay if they can get their bigs to play enough. I mean, the guy who plays off the bench behind Kobe Waka is basically a starter. He's playing starters minutes, and he's I think he's the best percentage offensive rebounder in the country as far as he's really physical, 6'8", 230, 240, something like that. So, they'll be fine with him, but, I don't know, him and Mo Krivas, their center, he's 7-footer, they're still going to be 5 to 8 minutes that they're not going to have at least both of those guys, at least 5 to 8 minutes they're not going to have both those guys. So then what do they do? And then they're going to have to turn to Ivan Karchenkov, who's a 6'8", pretty tough, 225, 230-pound kind of wing forward, and he's got some versatility. He can play inside, but at the same time, who's going to guard Dibanza? I'm sure that he's going to be pretty motivated after Arizona kind of made him work pretty hard up there. So, it'll be really interesting. But I think to start, I think Arizona's, and for the most part, Arizona's got the size. I mean, there's actually, that was one of the questions going into the season was, where are you going to start Owaka? Because he was a starter last year. He was honorable mention All Big 12, really good player. And, and he agreed to come off the bench and play behind Pete, who is obviously a super talented guy. So it's worked pretty well for them to this point to have him come off the bench. But now they're going to have to do that full time and then find other ways to fill the holes if those guys get in foul troubles or need a rest.
Arizona won at the Marriott Center 86-83. That was a wild and entertaining game. And a big part of it was that the guards, Burries and Bradley, both basically doubled their scoring averages for the season. Now, especially with Burries as a freshman, Bradley's a senior. Burries' 15 points a game is misleading because he was barely scoring early in the year.
Right.
But he's put up a bunch of good performances here as we've gotten deeper into the season. Do you think they could combine for 55 points again, or was that kind of a one-off and Arizona's got to figure out a different way to score and win and get it done in this game?
They can, but they probably probably need to be taking it easy, the last couple of days. I don't know if they were, but Burries has been on a roll. He's a consistent 20-point scorer practically lately. Bradley's tailed off a little bit, but he's also been the kind of guy where if he knows he needs to step it up offensively, he'll do it. He's just more of a natural point guard who prefers to set things up, and he's really got some subtlety in his game, but, he can turn it on. So it wouldn't surprise me to see that happen. Yeah, and they might have to do a little bit of that. But it'll be interesting to see, like I said, the Karchenkov, their 3-man, if he plays in the 4 a lot and if he does well. And then they probably could use a lot more from Anthony Del Orso, who's kind of their shooter off the bench. He's really been kind of slumping most of the Pac-12 season, and that's something that they've been missing.
Just watching them on television, it seems to me that Burries has developed himself into a star. And it's I don't know if they thought that was possible. You would know more than me, obviously. So that's one of the questions. Did they think that he would be this good? And is he a potential guy that'll go into the NBA draft?
Yeah, I think, they thought the potential was there. Yeah, I mean, he was, I think California Player of the Year a couple times, just unbelievable numbers. I think the only question about him, at least that I had, and I think they did, was that he hadn't played on a super high level. He was too old to qualify for the USA U19 team that Tommy Lloyd coached and Pete played on. And whereas Karchenkov, the other freshman, he played in the highest pro league in Germany. I mean, he's basically a pro and came here. So I think Burries was the one guy who, more than anybody, really needed to adjust, which I think is why he didn't play well. Teams had kind of figured him out. He was a little intimidated by it, and then I think mid-December there was a game at Alabama or in Birmingham, and he really kind of broke out in that game. I think he gave him a lot of confidence, and that's what he's indicated anyway. It seems like he's got the skills. He's really determined. He's kind of one of these guys. He's just really super competitive, and I think that actually hurt him at Kansas, where he thought he was going to win the game, and he went in for a layup, and Fiore Badunga had swatted away shots as he does all game, and sure enough, he got the best of him, and it was just it was one of those deals. He's a really confident scorer at this point of the season, and and he's learning game to game. So we'll see. But yes, he definitely he definitely projects pretty high, and it's not a complete surprise. It just is a little. In fact, some fans here were kind of surprised after a month. I think the thought was, hey, wait, is he a bust? And now all of a sudden, no, he's not.
Bruce Pascoe joining us, Arizona Wildcats basketball beat writer for the Arizona Daily Star. BYU and Arizona tonight. Arizona famously started the season 23-0. They were ranked number 1. Now they've lost back-to-back games. Have there been just a few small weaknesses that you've either seen for the first time or that you've seen and finally the quality of the opposition could exploit them and win the game? Or is it just, man, they went to Kansas and lost by 4 and Tech was an OT game and stuff happens and they're 23-2, so what?
Yeah, that's a great question, and honestly, that's the same question we're all asking. I think the one thing that, first of all, just to preface that, I mean, they did have kind of a softer Big 12 schedule in the first half, so combined with the fact that they had some really good wins early, Alabama, UCLA, those were big wins. They beat Florida early, but they beat UConn when UConn had 2 starters out, So there were some signs, that a great start, but it wasn't necessarily, you could dig into it a little bit. But I think as far as the questions about it, probably the biggest thing has been that they don't shoot a lot of 3-pointers. They're actually like third to last in the country as far as the percentage of 3 shot as a percentage of their overall shooting. And that's because they rely on these bigs, and they do really well for the bigs. And they're pretty good mid-range shooters, and they can be pretty efficient even if you give them 15-footers, they'll take them. And so between those two things, they're really not relying on the 3. And so the question has always kind of been, well, what happens if a team comes along and can match them inside, or for the most part, or do something defensively to kind of neutralize them a little bit and then force them to hit some 3s? And that's basically what happened against Texas Tech. I think you're right. The Kansas loss was like, hey, Kansas, that place was nuts, even though they were without Darren Peterson. it was nuts. I don't think I've ever seen an environment that crazy ever. Like, it was insane. And so they lost that game, and Burry's made that, ill-advised decision, and maybe that was a little bit of the moment and all that. So that one you can kind of write off. But I think Texas Tech was a little bit where JT Toppin was just dominant, and they also did some things defensively, offensively, the way they handled Arizona's switches and this and that. And then they kind of neutralized them, and Arizona didn't have, much shooting to speak of, and it was tight, and they weren't terrible, but it was a tight game, and they ended up losing it. So those things could happen. I mean, they could run into the team like that. They may run into Texas Tech again in the Big 12 tournament, but they could definitely run into a team like that in the, second, third, fourth round of the NCAA tournament. So that is a concern for sure.
They've got the grandson of Frank Arnold, former BYU coach, Addison Arnold, on the team. He's got this game circled, doesn't he, Bruce?
Well, I think he got in the game last year up there. But yeah, no, he did. And, he's actually a really good walk-on player. I mean, he's the kind of kid who can play at a low level Division I or certainly Division II kind of program. And so, and you never know, he might get a spot minute or two if being as they're shorthanded anyway, if some guys get in foul trouble, it wouldn't shock me,
Speaking of circled games, it's Houston and Arizona. The top two teams in the league are playing Saturday at 1:00. There's one theory where maybe Arizona, emotionally isn't dialed in. That's a big game. They're looking a little past this. There's another theory where, hey, you got to win this. You could be looking at a 4-game losing streak. So actually it's going to be Arizona's best effort tonight. And then they got to replace two guys, depending on what kind of emotional leadership and how much the team feeds off those guys. Can you, and maybe it's just impossible with 20-year-old kids, but do you think this is going to be one of Arizona's best efforts, a normal, quote-unquote, normal effort, or maybe a little lower energy and focus?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they could go either way. You're right, because it is different in that they're a little bit unsettled. They're going to have to make moves in their rotation they have not made all season. That's going to be different. But I think as far as the effort, I got to think it's going to be at a high. I really do, and they'll be jacked up by these fans. I think everybody knows deep down what you said. They don't want to lose 4 in a row. They want to go into Houston on some momentum, and I think that at least the thought I've kind of gathered from just some thoughts around here is that this is the must-win game. Because they don't want to go to Houston on a 3-game losing streak, and especially Houston come off their tough loss. That could be, and the way Houston plays, that could be an issue as it was last year. So I think they'll be motivated for this one, and I think maybe some of the returning guys also in the back of their minds they remember the time losing to BYU here last year. Granted, Richie Saunders was the guy who hit the free throws and drew that foul that drove everyone nuts here. And he's not going to be playing. So, but that said, I think they'll be motivated for a number of reasons.
I saw a thing on social media that said essentially it's a shame that Tommy Lloyd has to tell the fans to stand up, where you go to these other blue blood programs, and Arizona certainly has been that since Lute Olson days, that they already know, and it's an intimidating home crowd, and U of A doesn't have that, and Tommy's got to get everybody going and all that. You buy into that, any of that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's ridden that line where it's sort of like you want to be respectful to your fans, and they do have really good fans. They're supportive, but it's different. And he said this last year. I think this year he was even more careful. But I think he said last year Iowa State and Kansas particularly, he just said, it's a different level. And I think, and I think he's spoken highly of BYU. In fact, I think all three of those are more, more tougher crowds to play than Arizona. It's just, I think it's maybe because of the decades of success they've had here. Fans are a little more like, okay, show me what you got. We'll see, but they'll rise up if the team's in trouble. And I think that happened against Texas Tech. It got pretty crazy because they're that's what they do. Whereas I think at BYU and Kansas and Iowa State and some of these places, they're crazy all the time. And I think at Arizona, it's more like, okay, do we need to be crazy today, or because otherwise we're just going to watch the game. It's different, but yet it is mostly sold out most games, and you've got season ticket fan holders who've been there for decades. The students behind the basket can hit and miss. They've been generally better the last couple of years. So, it's pretty good. It's still, I would think, it's still pretty much one of the more intimidating places to play. It's just, the Big 12 is loaded with absolutely, kind of amazing places like that. So,
yeah.
and it's so much different than the Pac-12, where it was literally like Arizona and whoever else was good at the time might have a good environment, but Arizona was the only one that was consistent. And now they're in the Big 12 and they're like fourth, fifth, maybe, as far as environments go.
Over the decades, it seems to me that the students are the ones who bring the energy, irregardless of what's going on, and that with the big money, the people who are paying the big money, it's a little bit more sit there and let me be entertained. And then if something good happens, I'll get up and cheer. But the team has to lead the crowd instead of the crowd being crazy from the get-go, which tends to be the energy students bring. And I've seen some schools where they just price people out and price the students out because they want to sell as many tickets as they can because they have to make money. They have budget issues. How many students do they even let in there?
They let in about 2,800, something like that. Maybe as much as 3. I don't think it's quite that much. So it's probably half of what BYU has in their students. It seems like, at least, it's hard for me to tell, honestly, because when I go somewhere, it's Arizona, so they're jacked for Arizona. So maybe they're at a higher level. But the 2 times I've been to BYU now, this year and last year, they were amazing. The students were, and frankly, the whole place was. And it wasn't, and it also wasn't like there was like blue everywhere. There wasn't any Arizona red. A lot of times Arizona plays on the road, and and especially in the Pac-12, not so much at Utah at the Huntsman, but there's a lot of red everywhere. And I think that's probably the biggest loss they had from the Pac-12 was they go to the Bay Area, they go to USC, not so much UCLA, but Bay Area, Seattle. Even some of the Oregon games on Saturdays, the alums in those areas would come down and they'd wear red and they go in and they'd have this huge environment on the road for Arizona. You'd hear these U of A chants, it's insane. But that didn't happen at BYU. That certainly didn't happen at Kansas. Didn't happen at Iowa State last year. So it's a different deal. But as for the students, it's probably on the lesser side. This is a 14,600 arena. They don't let, I think students are probably a little bit lower percentage of that. And, honestly, but for some of the non-conference games, they don't even fill it. They don't fill the student section. So, and they went to the system, I think last year or the year before, where students, had to get points or whatever to try and get better. I mean, there's a lot of things they tried to do to jack it up and things like that. So it's gotten a little better, but it doesn't seem as consistently tough as some other places, and that may, like you said, that may be a function of money. They, obviously everybody needs money in this day and age, and Arizona they haven't traditionally, had the power in football to generate anything much beyond what the conference has given them. So, it's more been a heavy reliance on basketball here, so they have to do what they have to do that way.
Bruce, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us, and enjoy the game tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Should be a good one.
Bruce Pascoe, Arizona Wildcats basketball beat writer for the Arizona Daily Star. All
this time, you've been trying to convert me, and I finally converted you.
To what?
You said irregardless.
I'm not going to lie. I was like, did he do that on purpose?
Irregardless. No, I didn't. I just did it.
Yeah, all this time you've been trying to convert me, and I would say, no, thank you. I respect you deeply.
Nearly 24 years in, we finally got you.
You had to repeat it. I just realized you made that joke earlier, and I just whoop right over my head. That was good. Well done.
And
I was figuring out the first one. I didn't get the second one.
I finally converted you.
And there it is. There it is.
Okay.
PK for the win.
So mark that so we can play that. He can use that.
You should wake up at 3 a.m. more often because you're more brilliant when you do.
No, I shouldn't. Unless I have like a 5:30 plane.
Even then. Why 3? Why not 3:45? You'll make it. It'll be fine. Yeah. Now, try doing morning radio and having a reports of 4 a.m. snow that's going to be so heavy that UDOT isn't going to be able to keep up with it. And then the storm doesn't get here in time.
And then when I wake up, the power is out in the neighborhood, and it takes me like a few minutes. Why is it so dark? What is going on? What time is it?
But all the clocks are off because the power's out.
And at that point, there was no chance for me to get back to sleep, so I just drove in and slept in the car a little bit.
Now look at the brilliance it's led to. When we come back, everything you missed in this show, stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is time for the headlines. What have you missed in this show? Brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 801-210-6800 or visit their website at trajanwealth.com. We've been talking a lot about the BYU game. Arizona, you love body language, heart, fight. And Arizona's down 2 guys, a starter and a sub. Obviously, BYU's adjusting to life without Richie Saunders. There's a lot of question marks here. There are roles to fill, shots to take, possessions to be defended, rebounds to be grabbed. There are guys getting chances here who haven't. Arizona's had an 8-man lineup. I can't imagine they're just going to go with a 6-man lineup here, and people are going to get opportunity.
Frank Arnold's grandson, man.
Possibly.
They'd be taunting the BYU bench.
And for BYU, a couple players getting chances now?
Well, I think that Boscovich has been getting chances, and so he'll continue to get chances. And then Russ, he'll play.
Yeah.
And the Kostic kid. I think those 2 kids, if one comes in and hits a couple shots early, he's going to get some more time. They need one of those guys. They don't need him to go for 20, but I think they need to hit some big just give them some breathing room offensively.
Who's going to give them 6, 8, or 10? They need
one
a
of those
few
2
players to do that.
I'm counting on Boscovich doing that, and then also 2.
He had just one shot. He only took a 3, and he hit it in the overtime when he was Colorado.
And I think Kennard Davis can do more, and Kevin Young spoke to that. Mm-hmm. And Maup or Aboop, I think. I'm going to do that after the show.
Hadim Boop.
Yeah, I already told you. I can't help myself.
Moving along. Here we go. No, that's fine. You made the joke. Your advice a long time ago is actually very good advice. Do what you do, but just hit the mark and keep going.
I look at Yak and I can't help myself. Right. I get it. You're right.
It's taking the lap around, victory lap.
This time I can't help myself. Okay. So I look at hhim as more of a junkyard dog, putbacks, rebounds, and all that. I don't know that he's going to get.
Talk to me about the rebounding.
15-footers.
I don't think DeBonce is going to average 13. That was great. He did that against Colorado, and I still want to see 8, 9, 10 out of him. But somebody's got to step up. Who gets 5, 6 rebounds in 15 minutes of play? If that's all you get,
I think they need Keita to do that.
For sure. Yeah.
Basically, Kevin Young called him out.
They need more people to do that.
He's a starter, but I don't know that he really plays big starter minutes.
No, it feels like he and Ahmed basically split time, and due to the foul trouble that they can both find themselves in on any given night, I think it's more Keita than Ahmed, but in the last game it was Ahmed who was in foul trouble, not Keita. So they do seem to be splitting the minutes at that position.
Well, I think that against Arizona, it's harder to go small. Like they've been able to do with Hope. And he provides a lot of energy, and I like the way he has embraced his role, thinking this is the way I can get myself out on the floor, and this is what I'm going to do. That's team play right there. And then, of course, they need the top 2 guys to be the top 2 guys.
Yeah.
Their margin of error was very slim, and obviously it's slimmer, and it puts a lot of pressure on the top 2 dudes. They're going to have big, maybe not every game, but against the ranked teams, yes. And we'll see. We'll see what happens with Texas Tech and Toppin. He goes down last night in the second half, and I didn't watch the game, but I've since looked at it and all this stuff going on, and it looks like it could maybe, hopefully not, be serious. And so does that change the complexion of their team? And the Cougars got them to close the regular season 2 weeks from Saturday, so we'll see how that plays out. And, going to I'd feel a lot more confident if the West Virginia and Cincinnati games were at home, but they're not. They're both on the road, so I imagine they'll stay back there. I don't know. Maybe they'll fly back and forth and figure that out. It'd be nice if they swept that trip, but that's going to be awfully hard. And I point to, as recently as last night, the top 25, 6 road teams lost to unranked teams. That's all the evidence you need. It's hard.
Conference is hard. Road's hard.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of games piling up. And there are teams going on the road there with injury issues, suffered either in the game, before the game with North Carolina.
For sure. Well,
and
North Carolina's understandable.
And you got the rivalry.
The top 2 guys were out, and they get smoked. I get that.
Right. And you got the rivalry emotion. NC State's going to be fired up for UNC.
I understand that. I get that.
But we're going to have a lot of emotion in these games, too. So...
Well, yeah,
I'm looking at the
end
top
is near.
I'm looking at the top and thinking, this looks bad.
That's what I'm saying.
It's really bad.
I'm not, I have no medical degree by any stretch, but and I didn't see it live, but I went back and looked.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That is highly unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because he's a player of the year and the conference candidate. And, yeah.
I thought initially there was some contact, but it looks non-contact. It looks like before he gets to the defender, he's already hurting and going down. So
yeah, and these things, they land awkwardly, and then all of a sudden it's shattered.
Yeah.
And you're gone for months. Who would have thought what Richie? Richie is a guy who plays with reckless abandon, I think we can say, and he's hustling all the time, and it's a move he's done a million times, and he comes down, and it's a little tweak, and then boom, he's done. He's over. His college career's over. It's crazy. It makes you wonder why it doesn't happen more.
Yeah, I just can't explain it. Guys make a move they made a million times.
And they're landing on a surface that doesn't give.
And it gives out. And I'm not even sure if he was like literally pushing off when the injury happened. They're saying lower leg, but it looked like he was holding
you're talking Toppin now.
Toppin. It looked like he was holding his knee.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
right.
It's like if Texas Tech fans are freaking about his ACL, and I don't know if it is or it isn't, but if they're freaking out about it right now, I get it. That kind of obvious pain, reaching for the knee, non-contact. I mean, it could be something else, but we'll find out soon enough, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right, well, emotion, energy, guts, toughness. Who's decided, well, I still know which 2 guys are getting the shots, but I want to stay on the court. I'm going to get a bunch of rebounds. I'm going to defend these guys. We're not giving up 26 and 29 to their guards in this game. Who's going to take that attitude? Tweet that out when you see that tonight. I know you're not big on the social media, but when you see the body language, super good or super bad, when it hits you right where you live in Jersey.
Well,
because Arizona's similar issues. They're down 1 starter, 1 sub. And they've been playing 8, so now they got 6. So they're going to have to.
Understood.
They're going to have to run somebody out there.
And Kevin is talking about, his quote was something to the effect, hey, okay, you guys, you wanted the opportunity. Well, here it is. What are you going to do with it? Well, that opportunity just doesn't have to be on the offensive end. You can find yourself 10 extra minutes of PT if you're digging in and really giving everything you got on the defensive end. That will be noticeable for a team that has lacked that all season. So let's see what they can do. I'm excited for that. And he's right, man. Everybody wants playing time. You don't go to college to sit on a bench. I mean, you don't go to high school, whatever. You want to play. And this opportunity presents itself. Well, just be a dog out there defensively.
ESPN, 7 o'clock, the big game, BYU at Arizona. And FS1 has a doubleheader involving Utah teams at 6:30. Utah plays, and at 8:30, Utah State plays over on FS1. So if you're looking for something to do during halftime, before or after the game, during commercial breaks, or just go to the 2 screens and lock down on them both.
Well, I'll be on my couch at 6:30.
Yeah.
Watching
the
U of A, or the U of A, the U of U.
The U game. Start things off.
Yeah.
At West Virginia tonight. And Utah State's at home against Boise State, a team they already blew out up there.
Well, I expect a loss and a win.
Up and down. Yeah, that would be the way to expect. I get that.
I expect
home teams to win all 3 of the games.
Utah State to get a decent seed, to win a game, see where they're seated and where they play in the second round. And then Calhoun's going to have to make a decision.
Because he's bound to get offers. It's going too good.
Right. And what is the available money? Now, they're going into a better conference.
Yeah.
Although they lose New Mexico, but they gain Gonzaga. And
I think we know who the preseason favorite is.
That's a trade I would make every time if I'm a commissioner. I'll give you, and that's not disparaging New Mexico's basketball program by any stretch.
No, but Gonzaga's.
Yeah. I mean, they've literally made the tournament
so
every single year in Mark Few's career, and he's coming up on like 25 years. And Sweet 16s are not a novelty anymore.
The Jazz made it official. They announced Jaren Jackson Jr.'s his surgery went well. The growth has been removed. He'll be reevaluated in 4 weeks. He's out for the season. So, confirming what you already knew.
I'd get some witch doctors to start getting MRIs on the rest of the guys. Oh, I think I see something there.
Major League Baseball Players Association Executive Director Tony Clark, former Valhalla High star. Let's go Norseman. All right.
But he did not graduate there.
No. As a couple of other high-profile guys have.
And he played basketball at U of A.
Yeah.
And then transferred to San Diego State. Yeah, he's 6'8", literally.
He resigned after an internal investigation revealed an inappropriate relationship with his sister-in-law, who was hired by the union in 2023.
And I know you, and that's awful, obviously, if it's true. And I know you have a couple of brothers. Was there any hanky-panky going on?
Nope.
Because you would bring over a slew of chicks.
Stop. I'll let you have one. Just stop.
I wonder, Alan, he never said,
stop.
Hey. Because that was the whole deal with Rudy, when you think about it, right? He comes back. The brother, you remember that?
I don't, actually.
You don't remember that storyline in Rudy?
No, I don't.
You remember the film Rudy?
I do.
The Notre Dame guy?
I do.
You remember that? Yeah, he comes back
That's what spurred him to go to Notre Dame.
To Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
And his brother, of all the fish in the sea?
Stole his girlfriend.
Moved in on his girlfriend.
You gotta go after that, Bass? That is some great work right there.
When we come back, your feedback next. Stay with us. Time for your feedback. What do you have to say about today's show? What are you thinking? Robert, 2 losses. It's possible. Look into the games tonight.
Oh, of the 3?
I believe that's what he's getting at, yes. Bart, why did you guys interview Jeff Judkins? He's always a good interview.
That's random.
In fact, he'd be much better than Steve Cleveland.
Really?
We got enough segments. We can talk to both of them.
Yeah.
Bart's just on a rant here. Did you know the Utes play tonight? When Alex has this team winning next season, if I were him, I would not do any interviews with your Cougar station. Well, haven't done any this year. We've asked multiple times. Yak, how's that going?
Well,
not going anywhere.
I don't see Alex turning his nose up against me.
I don't either. As a matter of fact, having talked to him one-on-one when you weren't there, I have a pretty good idea what he wants to do.
Yeah.
He wants to hang out with you, actually.
I've been around him a long, long time. We had a deep history.
He was a high school star when we both showed up here and started doing this.
Right.
And then he was a college star.
I was a beat writer for his first college game, and I was a beat writer for his last college game.
Yeah.
And I hope very much that he gets it going at the University of Utah. Absolutely, 100%. Just like Morgan. I mean, this is. I've turned into guys I used to think, man,
I know,
they're
right?
old and they know everybody.
We're supposed to be. My wife, hey, sports, it's different. You get to know people. You get to be friends.
Especially in this community where a lot of people stay.
Yep. Yeah. And it's crazy now that we knew these guys in high school and college.
Mm-hmm.
And yet here we are. We knew Kalani in college. Kevin Young's an outlier. How does this happen? Jared Calhoun's an outlier. How did this happen?
I was the beat writer in Kalani's last year.
Yeah. I mean, Bronco comes on with us. Now, we didn't know him as a high school and college athlete, but we've still known him for 20-plus years now.
I was a beat writer his first 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, you're at 25, calling him when he was the defensive coordinator and why you're making the move and all that.
Yeah. I feel like I have Bronco has a level of trust and confidence in me.
Yeah. I don't think he would come on the air and do the interviews he does and say the things he does without them. I mean, we've all seen interviews where Bronco's been guarded.
Right.
And you can go listen to some of the interviews with us. He's not guarded.
No.
He's out there. What was that line, a hotline, about the hotline you can call?
The Phantom Hotline?
The Phantom Hotline, yeah. I was thinking allegedly, but I knew that wasn't right. The Phantom Hotline.
Well, he's got experience now, and he can reflect on the experience and tell it like it is, especially when he sees hypocrisy and the tampering thing it doesn't exist. It's a bunch of posted speed limit signs and nobody to write any tickets. So you can go as fast as you want.
If BYU upsets Arizona and Tucson, where would it rank among the all-time Cougar regular season wins? John says up there with that win at Gonzaga when that big blonde dude from Lone Peak played for BYU.
Mika?
That's who he's got to be referencing, right?
Oh.
I think Eric would find that hilarious.
Because Emery had darker hair, and I don't think TJ had hair.
Oh, man.
TJ's a bit of a ginger.
How much do you think gambling sites, as reports indicate, played a role in Adam Silver finding the Jazz $500,000 for sitting players in the fourth quarter? Lane, it was 100% the reason. Brian, it was definitely a part of it. I think Adam Silver is down with keeping the Jazz in their place, basically a farm league team. Ryan Smith wants to argue otherwise.
Well, they're going to have an opportunity to, I guess, get the last laugh and to show. I'm encouraged about, obviously, what the Jazz are doing now. You make a trade of that caliber, and it really flips the story and the expectation, and then they're not going to be done. And if they can get a draft pick that's high, and it comes at the league being miffed at them, so what? That's the price you have to pay. Yeah. They have to make a decision. Do we need to do what's in our best interest, or do we need to do what's in the league's best interest? And the league isn't going to take care of you. It's not going to award you picks or players or what have you. That's not the way it works. There's no allocation there. And so now they have this opportunity to do this, and they're this close, man. Get it done. And then it's over. And then it's win. And try to amass as many wins as you possibly can. And suddenly with that situation, 45 seems imminently realistic, and maybe beyond that. 50, I'm not willing to go there yet. Maybe in October, after I see what the roster looks like. But let's get 45, because that's postseason, and that's obviously a winning record.
Men's hockey Olympic quarterfinals. Canada's losing 2-1 to Czechia on the USA Network right now. They're in the middle of the second period. Sweden and the U.S. coming up on NBC at 1 o'clock today.
They just tied it up, actually, 2-2.
Oh, it's 2-2 now? Just got to go.
Scored.
Okay, so that's 2-2 now. The U.S. played in Sweden, 1 o'clock on NBC. DJ and PK, we're back tomorrow morning. Jake and Ben are up next.